Welcome to SEM Construction's Health and Safety Employee and Subcontractor Orientation video. During this video, you will learn about our site-specific health and safety rules and policies that need to be adhered to during your time on an SEM project or property. At the conclusion of this video, please ensure to complete the quiz and fill out the employee/contractor registration form and provide it to the SEM supervisor to log your orientation in our system. Your orientation will be valid for 1 year from the time of taking this course. SEM Construction, built right, built safely.
Hi, my name is Amir Shinoda, and I'm the president and co-founder of SEM Construction. Today is your first day on the job. Welcome to the team. I'd like you to know that SEM Construction values your work and cares about your health and safety. Safety is an integral part of our culture. That is why one of our core values is to build right, build safely. At the heart of our operation is the belief that safety is the foundation of trust. By adhering to the highest safety standards, we build more than structures. We build trust that stands the test of time. I hope you find this video helpful in explaining our health and safety protocols and our expectations of you when you are on one of our job sites. Welcome and enjoy working with SEM team.
The SEM Construction Orientation. This orientation is mandatory for every worker coming to one of our sites prior to the onset of work. There is a short quiz after the video which also must be completed prior to the onset of work. Every worker must meet with the site supervisor to review the specific details of the site prior to the onset of work and sign a sheet that they have completed the above. No exceptions. During this orientation, we will cover the following topics that you are required to understand and comply with during your time on SEM project sites or property: legislation, workers' rights, zero violence and harassment, fit for work, health and safety board, worker health and safety representative, site rules, records of training, PPE, job hazard assessment, daily hazard assessment, housekeeping, traffic control and reversing equipment, pre-use inspections of tools and equipment, heavy equipment, groundworks, hoisting and rigging, critical lifts, working at heights, confined space entry, staying compliant and hazard reporting, incident reporting, documentation submittals, emergency preparedness, and finally, quiz and contractor/employee registration. Occupational Health and Safety Act and legislation. Just like any business or industry in Ontario, we must follow the rules and regulations set out in the Occupational Health and Safety Act. All applicable legislation must be followed while on site at all times, and all employees, contractors, and visitors to the sites are mandated to adhere to these regulations as well, with no exceptions. Workplace safety. Know your rights. In all workplaces in Ontario, every worker has the right to know, the right to refuse, and the right to participate. Workers have the right to know about workplace health and safety hazards. According to Occupational Health and Safety Act, OSHA, employers must provide a wide range of information about workplace hazards to workers and Joint Health and Safety Committees, JHSCs. JHSCs have a duty to communicate with workers. WHMIS, the Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System, is one example of the right to know. WHMIS is a Canada-wide system designed to protect workers by providing information about hazardous materials on the job. WHMIS has three main parts: labels, safety data sheets or SDSs, worker education and training. The right to participate. Workers have the right to make recommendations about health and safety. Employers must recognize this right to participate. They must consult with JHSCs about methods of testing equipment, substances, or other workplace factors, and about health and safety training programs. A worker on the JHSC has the right to be present at the beginning of testing, to participate in Ministry of Labour inspections and investigations, to investigate serious accidents, and to inspect the job site regularly. JHSCs have the right to make recommendations to employers about health and safety improvements. Employers must reply in writing within 21 days. Certified worker members have the right to investigate complaints dealing with dangerous circumstances. Right to refuse. Workers have the right to refuse work if they believe it endangers their health and safety. The OHSA sets out specific procedures. It's a two-stage process. You can refuse based on your subjective belief that work is dangerous. You must inform the supervisor or employer. Once a supervisor has investigated, you may still have reasonable grounds for believing that the work is dangerous. In this case, you may continue to refuse work. A Ministry of Labour inspector must be called to investigate. Zero tolerance, violence and harassment. SEM Construction has a zero tolerance policy for any violence, harassment, or mistreatment towards another employee, contractor, or visitor on our job sites or places of work. We believe in the spirit of collaboration and encourage our employees to speak their minds in a calm and respectful manner. We expect the same of all of our subcontractors, visitors, and contractors on our sites. If a complaint has been made by another member of the site, an investigation will be completed and progressive action could be taken against the individual. The day-to-day grind of a construction site can be stressful enough, so please act with respect towards others at all times. Fit for duty. All employees and subcontractors are to be fit for duty and perform their work without any limitations or impairment resulting from, but not limited to, the use or after effects of alcohol, illicit drugs, non-prescription drugs, including all forms of marijuana, prescribed medication, or any other substance. All workers must remain fit for duty throughout the workday. Workers must report to SEM Construction supervisors if they are aware of the use of any substance or impairment that may endanger themselves or other workers. Health and Safety Board. SEM Construction projects all work in accordance with the Health and Safety Act and will have all the appropriate documentation posted to our Health and Safety Board on each project. The documents you will find on these boards are as follows, and you will be shown the board location and any site-specific items during your site walk with the supervisor after this orientation. In case of injury at work poster, copy of the acts and regulations, emergency response plan, project sign-in sheet, SEM Health and Safety Policy, Workplace Violence and Harassment Policy, Employment Standard Act, Health and Safety Prevention at Work poster, any incident or accident reports and any MOL reports, all project emergency contacts. At the conclusion of this video, please review the Health and Safety Board and read over the policies and documents posted in order to familiarize yourself with any site-specific items that you need to know. The site supervisor will review the location of the safety board and its contents once on site. Health and Safety Committee and Worker Safety Representative. On each SEM job site, a worker will be appointed as the project health and safety representative by the workers on the project. The name of this representative will be posted on the Health and Safety Board. Any health and safety matters that you do not feel comfortable bringing up to the supervisor can be brought up to this person. A joint Health and Safety Committee will be established when there is more than 19 workers regularly present on the project. Site-specific rules. Under no circumstances is a worker to ride on any piece of equipment unless the worker is properly occupying a place or seat designated for such a purpose. This is especially important for around forklifts, aerial devices, hoists, cranes, etc. Employees must not engage in any prank, contest, feat of strength, unnecessarily running, or rough and boisterous conduct. Personnel are required to be readily fit for work. Any person suspected to be under the influence of or carrying unauthorized alcoholic, legal, or illegal substances will not be allowed to enter the project site. If anyone is found on site to be under the influence, they shall be immediately removed and banned from returning to the site. Each worker must always wear minimum required PPE, which must be inspected daily prior to work, be in good condition, and replaced as needed. If specialized PPE must be used, workers must have specific training, which includes proper fit, inspection, and care requirements. Incidents, injuries, unsafe conditions, and near misses, regardless of their nature, shall be immediately reported to your supervisor. No cell phone or other mobile communicative devices allowed on the job site without pre-approval from your supervisor for job requirements. There is ample time to check these items on your own time, breaks, and/or lunch. Always keep all training certificates with you at the project site. When working around cranes, listen for the whistles and horns, which means a load is being flown overhead. Avoid that area unless you are directly involved with the lift. When walking around machinery, stop, make eye contact with the operator, and wait for their okay to pass before going around them. Smoking and vaping of nicotine products is permitted in designated areas only. Workers must perform all work following safe work practices and safe job procedures and legislative requirements. Workers shall always maintain good housekeeping. Supervisors are responsible that work areas are maintained by workers by observation and site inspections. Records of training. In order to have access to our job site, all records of training must be submitted prior to arrival. This includes Worker awareness, 4 steps. Supervisor awareness, 5 steps. WHMIS must have been completed within the last 12 months. Working at heights, if working over 10 feet, within the last 3 years. Any other certificate that is task specific. Book 7 traffic control, reversing equipment, confined space, telehandler, scissor lift, etc. If you are found completing a task without providing us the certificate or are not trained, you may be permanently banned from site. PPE. The following slides will dictate what PPE requirements are for all SEM job sites. Boots. Boots are mandatory at all times. They must be CSA approved, have the green Omega tags, be a minimum of 6 inches tall, complete with a toe box that is composite or steel, and have a puncture-resistant sole. Hard hats. All hard hats must be CSA approved, suspension or ratchet type, must be minimum Class E Type 1, and are mandatory at all times during any work happening on an SEM project. Eye protection. All eye protection must be CSA approved, have wraparound side protection, can be clear, dark, or indoor-outdoor. If you wear prescription glasses, you must have CSA approved safety glasses or wear safety glasses over top of your prescription glasses. Must be worn when there is a risk of eye injury, dust, flying debris, chemicals, etc. High visibility PPE. A 5-point tearaway vest must be worn when directing traffic or working on a road. High visibility shirt, jacket, vest must be worn at all times when working outdoors. Also, long pants must be worn at all times on our job sites, and shirts must have sleeves. No exceptions. Hearing protection and gloves. Hearing protection is required for any work where the noise exceeds 85 decibels. Earplugs or earmuffs can be used. Either one must be CSA approved. Gloves. Gloves shall be worn for any specific task where there is risk of cutting, burning, or damaging your hands. Safety data sheets. Always revert to the safety data sheet for the type of PPE that is to be worn for the product being used. Job hazard analysis. A job hazard analysis must be submitted by each subcontractor for any critical tasks prior to the onset of work to manage risks for the scope of work. It must include detailed steps of the job, use the hierarchy of controls, elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administration controls, and lastly, PPE. The job hazard analysis must list the major steps of the job, list the hazards, list the risks, rate the hazards without controls, implement controls, and rate the hazards with controls. If you need help with this, please contact our Health and Safety Department. Daily Hazard Assessments, or DHAs. Start right. No DHA equals no work. A DHA must be completed prior to each shift. They must identify the hazards and controls specific for the task. They must be reviewed with all workers for clarity, understanding, and signed by all workers. They must match the work in progress for the day and be reviewed and signed by everyone entering the work area. If your company already has a daily hazard analysis form, please fill them out and hand them in daily to the site supervisor. If not, please fill out the SEM DHA forms daily and hand them in. Housekeeping. A clean site is a safe site. All walkways shall be kept clear of debris and trip hazards. Housekeeping shall be completed throughout the day and at the end of each shift. A clean job site is a safe job site. Please do your part and clean as you go. Traffic control and reversing equipment. A written traffic control and protection plan is required if working on a public road. Ontario Traffic Manual, Book 7 must be followed. Ideally, on-site drive-through operations are to be maintained. If not, all reversing vehicles must have a spotter directing them. All delivery trucks and mobile equipment must have an audible alarm when in reverse. A 5-point, high-visibility tearaway vest with reflective stripes must be worn when directing traffic or heavy equipment. Pre-use inspection of all tools and equipment. All tools must be inspected prior to use to prevent injury to yourself or others. All guards and shields must be kept in place at all times during use. Any equipment over 10 horsepower must have a pre-use inspection checklist sheet that meets the manufacturer's recommendations. See your supervisor for inspection forms if you do not have any. Heavy equipment. SEM construction requires that before any piece of equipment over 10 horsepower is utilized for work, A pre-use inspection sheet must be filled out to ensure that the equipment is in safe operating order. This inspection sheet should be in line with the manufacturer's requirements for inspection and needs to be filled out prior to each shift. All operators of equipment must have current training for the specific equipment they are operating on site and are required to provide those certifications to SEM prior to use on site. Any failures, near misses, equipment breakdowns, oil leaks, etc. must be reported to SEM ASAP. Every machine on site must be in good working order and a manual from the manufacturer must be present and legible inside the machine. Every machine must also be secured at the end of each shift and parked in a safe place so no one can operate the machine without permission. Heavy equipment operation. Planning equipment operation is essential to ensure that the operation is carried out safely and efficiently. Consider the following: where the equipment is to be loaded from, where the equipment is to be placed, what areas are to be passed over, pedestrian protection, is the weather permitting equipment operations, a spotter must be used when working near overhead wires or reversing. Review of the job hazard analysis is required prior to work commencing. Blind spots. Never cross directly in front or immediately behind any heavy equipment, telehandlers, or trucks where the operator can't see you. Make eye contact with the operator and wait for the OK signal before proceeding. Backup alarms are mandatory on all heavy equipment and require a spotter or flagman when moving in reverse. Groundworks. No locates equals no digging. Locates must be present and on site at all times during excavation work and must be taken out by the contractor performing the work. All excavations must follow the regulations for side sloping and protection at all times. No proper sloping or no protection equals no entry. Also, ladders must be used at all times to enter excavations. Hoisting and rigging. Construction on SEM job sites will consist of all kinds of activities, including several types of hoisting and rigging, which you will need to be aware of during the work. The following sections will discuss hoisting, rigging, and critical lifts while working on our projects. 1. Do not walk or stand under suspended loads, attachments, or parts of equipment. Never leave loads unattended. Operator must never swing loads over workers. Only one person is to direct the operator at any given time. Know your hand signals. Know the blind spots. Hoisting and rigging continued. All hoisting and rigging must be planned by a competent person, appropriately supervised as required. They must ensure all tags are present on all slings, chains, cables, etc. All slinging and rigging of loads shall be carried out by a competent person in accordance with the written instructions of the manufacturer. Clear communication between the operator and person responsible for controlling the lift must be attained. Never walk under hoisted loads. Never place yourself between a fixed object and a moving object. Daily pre-use inspections must be completed. All hoisting and rigging equipment must be checked by a competent person prior to being used. And workers who have completed the 0 to 8 ton training can only operate hoisting and rigging equipment rated to lift a maximum of 8 tons. Critical lifts. Critical lifts include the following information: loads that exceed 75% of the crane's rated capacity, lifts that utilize multiple lifting devices at one time, any hoisting over water, a potential risk to people, any lifts over an occupied building or public street, lifting in congested areas where structures, pipelines, power lines, or other obstacles are located, inherent risk to the load itself, possible weight, shape, size, materials such as glass, etc. All critical lifts require a lift plan that is reviewed by SEM Construction's Health and Safety Officer and communicated to all workers before the lift. SEM Construction Site Supervisor must be present for all critical lifts. It is critical to follow these rules at all times when you or another contractor is working on completing a hoisting operation in order to maintain a safe job site at all times. Keep your distance from others completing hoisting operations and ensure you obtain eye contact with the operator before crossing their path. If working on the crew that is directing a hoisting operation, it is good practice to delineate the area with red danger tape to ensure no one enters the swing zone during a crane lift. Scaffolding. All scaffold must be tagged green, safe to use, or red, do not use, and erected by a competent person. A written daily pre-use inspection of the scaffold must be completed by the user. Never overload the scaffold with bricks or heavy items. You must know how much weight the scaffold is rated for. With rolling scaffolds, the wheels must be locked during use. No exception. All wooden planks must be cleated to prevent falls. Access and egress must be by a ladder to all scaffolds. All scaffolding must be erected in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions or as per engineered drawings. Floor openings and guardrails. All floor openings or penetrations in a floor must be covered by a material that is able to withstand the weight of any equipment moving along the floor. If the cover cannot withstand the weight, a guardrail must be erected. If you remove a cover, you must put guardrails around the opening. All floor coverings must be clearly marked and secured to the structure. If the work that you complete causes a fall risk, you must protect your workers and others from the fall. Example, craning materials onto an upper floor where you need to remove a guardrail. Delineate the area, ensure that all workers have a harness and lanyard, which is attached to engineered anchor point. Working at heights training is also required. All guardrails must meet legislative requirements and must be placed no further than 300 millimeters from the edge of a fall hazard. Working at heights. Fall protection systems shall be applied when a worker may be exposed to falling more than 3 meters, falling more than 1.2 meters if the work area is used as a path of wheelbarrow or similar equipment, falling onto operating machinery, falling into or onto a hazardous substance or object, falling through an opening on a work surface. Fall protection systems shall ensure that the worker does not hit the surface below. A rescue plan must be developed and reviewed by SAM Construction prior to the onset of work. Working at heights continued. If you do not have current training records, you cannot work at heights. 100% tie-off when working over 10 feet or 3 meters is required. A pre-use inspection of harness, lanyard, and all other working at heights PPE and equipment must be completed before your shift. A DHA and rescue plan must be completed and reviewed by all workers for clarity and understanding when working at heights. Confined space entry. No plan equals no entry. No permit equals no entry. No training equals no entry. No rescue plan or team equals no entry. If confined space entry is required on an SEM job site, please contact the supervisor or our health and safety officer for more advice. Defective tools, equipment, and PPE. All tools, equipment, and PPE must be tagged defective as soon as they are found to be defective. No exceptions. Ideally, use a red tag that states "Do not use." With large items, wrap danger tape around the defective item to ensure that workers know of the hazard. Any item that is found to be defective must be removed from site immediately. In the item that is a large piece of equipment, arrangements must be made to have a third party come in and repair or remove it from site. Keys or controls must be removed and stored where workers do not have access and can accidentally start the equipment and cause injury or damage. Report all broken tools or defective tools to your supervisor immediately. The 20-20-20 rule. If you see it, you own it. If you see something, say something. Conditions change constantly on the job site, and it is everyone's responsibility to report new hazards. Every 20 minutes, take 20 seconds and look 20 meters around you to see if new hazards are present. If you see a hazard, you must do something to prevent injury or damage. Tape the area off, put a cone down, or report it. If you see something, say something to your supervisor. Never ignore it. Safety is everyone's responsibility. This is how we build right and build safely. Incident reporting. 100% incident reporting is required. All incidents, regardless of severity, must be reported. All incidents and near misses must be reported. This is not to lay blame, but to implement corrective and preventative measures so it doesn't happen again. What needs to be reported? Any first aids, medical aids, violence and harassment, near misses, property or equipment damage, or any environmental incidents. No exceptions. Incident reporting requirements. Subcontractors shall notify SEM Construction of all incidents resulting in or having the potential to result in an injury, illness, property damage, or environmental damage. Reports are to be submitted within 24 hours of the incident. Incident investigation is performed to find the root cause and corrective and preventative actions to prevent reoccurrence. Copies of the investigations must be handed in within 48 hours of the occurrence to the SEM Health and Safety Officer. Emergency response. Site-specific emergency response procedures, a list of emergency phone numbers, and the names of the first aiders will be reviewed by the site supervisor and posted on the safety board. All workers are to sign in and out for the head count daily. All workers are to go to the muster point when they hear 3 blasts of the air horn and are to remain there for a head count until the all clear is given or further instructions are available. First aid kits and eye wash stations are available at the project office. Fire extinguishers are located throughout the project and must remain in the location found. Subcontractors are responsible for bringing their own fire extinguisher for any hot work. Stay compliant. Follow SEM construction rules at all times. Employees will perform tasks for which they have appropriate skills, ability, knowledge, and training. Every worker shall adhere to the OHSA applicable regulations and SEM construction site requirements at all times. Every worker shall adhere to PPE requirements, and full attendance to HSC meetings is mandatory unless otherwise approved. Project health and safety documentation submittals. SEM Construction takes all aspects of health and safety seriously, and we are required to have the following documentation completed by each supervisor and contractor on each one of our projects. Daily, a daily hazard assessment, and any equipment pre-use inspections must be handed in. Weekly, a copy of toolbox talks and supervisor site inspections. As required, a hot work or confined space permits, and project task specific safety plans. Parking and construction access. Parking locations will be advised to you by the SEM Construction Site Supervisor once you arrive on site. Back-in parking only is required on all sites. Only park in designated parking spots and do not block entrances or fire lanes. The quiz and subcontractor employee registration. You have now completed the online portion of the SEM Health and Safety Orientation video. The QR code link below will take you to our registration form, and please complete the online quiz and review it with our supervisor before heading onto the site. Once you have completed and passed the quiz, please contact the SEM site supervisor, who will then review the site-specific walkthrough and any other questions you may have about our health and safety program. Any concerns can be addressed by our supervisor or by contacting our health and safety officer directly at any time. Thank you for watching the SEM Health and Safety Orientation video, and remember, at SEM Construction, it's always built right, built safely.